What does it truly mean to be sane? Is it to comply, to obey, to smile when something deep inside you screams that the world is not right? You've been told that sanity means stability, a well-ordered life, fitting neatly within the boundaries society sets for you. But what if sanity, as the world defines it, is actually the illness? Think about it. You're born into a world that rewards compliance and punishes curiosity. From your earliest memories, you were taught not to question too deeply. You were told what to believe, how to act, what to chase. And if you questioned any of it, you were labeled difficult, rebellious, or different. But what if your difference was actually the mark of your spiritual health? What if the feeling of disconnection, the restlessness, the quiet knowing that something is deeply wrong, what if that's not insanity at all, but awakening? Society calls the obedient sane because they make the machine run. They call the questioners unstable because they threaten its power. But the truth is that sanity has been weaponized to keep humanity asleep. You see this every day. The masses living their lives in quiet desperation, glued to their screens, scrolling endlessly to avoid the emptiness that sits just beneath their surface. They call it entertainment, but it's sedation. They call it normal, but it's sickness. You were not born to conform to a broken system. You were born to see through it. But to see clearly means to be misunderstood, and that's a heavy price to pay. Your questioning makes people uncomfortable because it disrupts their illusion. The more you awaken, the more you realize that the world rewards blindness and punishes vision. The so-called sane follow the script. The awakened rewrite it. So ask yourself, who is truly insane? The one who sleeps peacefully in the burning house, or the one who wakes up, smells the smoke, and runs for the door? When your soul begins to awaken, the world around you starts to look distorted. The veil that once comforted you begins to tear. The people, the systems, the beliefs you once trusted suddenly lose their power. In Hindu philosophy, they call this veil Maya, illusion. It's the great mask that covers truth. And within Maya are layers, veils that hide your divine awareness behind the illusions of the body, the mind, the spirit, and the ego. You are not your body, but you've been taught to worship it. You are not your thoughts, but you've been conditioned to obey them. You are not your emotions, but you've been trained to chase and fear them like gods and demons. And yet, every system around you, from government to entertainment, from education to religion, is designed to keep those illusions alive, to keep you identified with your flesh, consumed by your desires, and enslaved by your mind. The Bible speaks of this too, though in different words. For to set the mind on the flesh is death, Romans says, but to set the mind on the spirit is life and peace. You've been blinded by the god of this world, as 2 Corinthians 4:4 puts it. Your mind, your desires, your entire worldview have been hijacked by forces that profit from your ignorance. But beneath that illusion, your spirit knows the truth. It whispers that life is not meant to be lived in a haze of consumerism and comfort. It reminds you that you were born with divine purpose, a mission that can't be fulfilled by chasing dopamine hits and external validation. And yet, most people will never hear that whisper. They're too busy trying to drown it out. The moment they feel it rising, they run for distraction. The phone, the TV, the drink, the pill, the endless noise that keeps their inner silence at bay. But You've begun to hear it. That's why the world feels heavier to you. It's why your sadness, your anxiety, your sense of alienation, none of it feels random. It's not disorder. It's disillusionment. Depression isn't always a malfunction. Sometimes it's the soul's rebellion against a false reality. You don't need to be fixed. You need to remember. For centuries, the definition of madness has been used as a tool of power. Those who didn't conform to the cultural script were labeled insane, heretical, or dangerous. Michel Foucault wrote that madness itself is a social construct, a shifting idea designed by those in control to protect their own authority. Once upon a time, those who heard voices were considered prophets, channels between the divine and humanity. Today we call them schizophrenic. The same sensitivity that once made someone sacred is now considered pathological. And while there are real mental illnesses that require compassion and care, how many are simply symptoms of spiritual suffocation? How many people are medicated for feeling too much, for perceiving too deeply, for seeing through the illusion? You live in a world that profits from your pain. The mental health industry thrives on perpetual patients, not healed people. The pharmaceutical giants make billions convincing you that your sadness is a disease instead of a message. And so the cycle continues. Numbness sold as peace, distraction sold as therapy. They tell you to calm down instead of wake up. They tell you to escape your pain instead of face it. They teach you that the cure is outside of you when the truth is buried deep within your soul. But the soul doesn't need medication, it needs meaning. And meaning doesn't come from obedience, it comes from awakening. The prophets, poets, inventors, and mystics of history, the ones society later calls geniuses, were always labeled mad in their time. Jesus, Jeremiah, Joan of Arc, Van Gogh, Tesla, they were all outcasts until the world caught up to their vision. And yet, humanity keeps repeating the same pattern, crucifying its visionaries, medicating its mystics, silencing its seers. If you feel alien in this world, it's not because you're broken, it's because your soul remembers something this world forgot. You weren't designed to be fully comfortable in a place that thrives on lies. And so, your discontent is holy, your anxiety is sacred, your sadness is an alarm clock ringing inside your soul, begging you to wake up. This world calls you mad for feeling too deeply, but maybe that's your proof of sanity. You've spent much of your life trying to fit in, trying to feel normal, trying to silence the voice that tells you there's something wrong with the world, but the longer you live in denial of that voice, the louder it becomes. You've been taught to call it anxiety, you've been told it's depression, you've been conditioned to treat it like an enemy, but what if that voice isn't your enemy at all? What if it's your soul? Whispering reminders of who you truly are. You were not created to be a product of this world. You were created to transcend it. The unease you feel is not a curse, it's an invitation. It's God calling you back to Him through the pain of separation. The Bible says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Romans 12:2. Renewing your mind means stepping out of the hypnosis of culture. It means refusing to measure your worth by what you consume, how much you earn, or how perfectly you perform. Sanity in the truest sense is not fitting in, it's waking up. It's seeing that the systems around you were built to enslave, not liberate. It's realizing that your discomfort, your questioning, and even your sorrow are the catalysts of transformation. So what do you do now? You stop running from yourself. You stop numbing your awareness. You sit with your discomfort and ask it what it's trying to teach you. You learn to see through the veil instead of live under it. Because every moment you choose awareness over illusion, you tear another thread from the fabric of Maya. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you become less of this world and more aligned with God. The veil was never meant to stay closed. It was meant to be lifted by those brave enough to question it. So, perhaps the insane are not those who lose touch with reality, but those who have found a deeper one. Perhaps the truly insane are not the dreamers, but the ones who can no longer dream. Maybe the world doesn't need more sane people. Maybe it needs more awakened souls. Souls brave enough to question everything. Souls willing to stand alone in their truth. Souls who understand that sanity isn't compliance, it's clarity. You are not crazy for seeing through the illusion. You are not broken for feeling too deeply. You are awake in a world that calls awakening a disease, and that is your greatest power. Like this video if it spoke to your soul, leave a comment sharing what perspective shift you receive from this message. Subscribe to the channel to continue to dive deeper with me into understanding the soul and its human experience. Stay awake, stay grounded, and never stop seeking truth.